Hi everyone. Welcome to this short intro video to Political Studies 2121, Law and Politics, the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. I hope you find this course valuable and enjoyable, even though we have to take it in this online format. I think it's an interesting course, deals with interesting topics, and I hope that in this asynchronous format we can still benefit from thinking about some of these important questions and issues together. So this is just going to be a short video to explain some of the points on the syllabus and let you know how this course will work. And I'll take about 2 minutes explaining what I think makes this course topic quite interesting and important, and then we'll just close it there. So this is just going to be a pretty quick video. So once you have the textbooks, everything you'll need for this course is on the Moodle page. So I would suggest you get comfortable with the Moodle page, find out where everything is, and read the syllabus carefully. I tried to give clear instructions and policies for every point of the syllabus, so please take some time to read it very carefully. It might seem like it's a bit of a waste of time at the beginning of the course to read the whole syllabus, but I really think you'll benefit from it, especially since I won't be able to see you each week in class to answer any questions you have. That said, once you've read it, please ask me if you were unsure about anything. I'm happy to either respond to you via email, or if you want to set up a virtual meeting, we can do that too. One point about the textbooks that I would say, you can buy electronic copies of the textbooks directly from the KPU bookstore. So I have put the links right on the syllabus underneath the required textbooks section. So if you don't want to make a trip to campus right now, I know that a lot of services are trying to restrict in-person interaction. If you'd rather buy the textbook right from your computer, you can do that. Just click the links. That way you'll have the textbooks right away for this week when you need them. One other point that's important to talk about early on that you'll have to do for this week is the weekly reflections. So I have a section on the syllabus that says more about exactly what this will look like. But for here, I'll just say a couple things. A weekly reflection is due every week by Friday at midnight, so 11:59 p.m. technically. So there's a weekly reflection for every week of the semester, except of course for reading break, where there's no assignments. And how you will submit these is I will just post a quiz for each week on the Moodle page. That's the simplest way to keep everything right on the Moodle page. Just click on the quiz, and then you can just submit your weekly reflection as the answer to that quiz for that week. It's not actually a quiz. You're allowed to use the textbook. You don't have to go from memory. But that's just the simplest way for me to collect your weekly reflections and keep them all in the same place. So again, there's one of those every week based on the reading. The other major assignment or set of assignments that you'll have to worry about for this semester is the thesis statement and outline assignment and the final essay, which will be developed out of your thesis statement and outline. Don't worry about that yet. That's not due for a while. But as we get closer to the due date for the thesis statement and outline assignment, I will post a sample on Moodle, and I will send an announcement letting you know that that is up there. If you have any questions about it, I'm happy to meet with you one-on-one. If there's enough interest, I might even host a virtual meeting where everyone can join if they want to talk about it. I might even record a 2 or 3 minute video explaining some other important facts about this, but don't worry about that for now. That's just later in the semester. More information will be given about that. So now a little bit about the content of this course. This course is, as you can tell from the title, is about the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, which is important. It has had a huge impact on Canadian politics, Canadian law, Canadian political life, federalism. That is the relationship between the federal government and the provinces, the House of Commons, the courts. Almost every aspect of Canadian politics has been changed by the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, so it's important and it's controversial. A lot of people love the Charter. A lot of people think the Charter is awful. Many laws are criticized based on the Charter, and many laws are defended or praised by many people because of the Charter. So it's controversial and it's very important. So that's why I think a whole course devoted to this is a great idea. So basically, and we'll go into a lot more detail on all of these points, of course, throughout the course. The Charter of Rights and Freedoms was added to our Constitution in 1982. And what it basically did was it gave the courts the ability to enforce human rights standards. So before 1982, if a law was passed by either the federal government or a provincial government that violated someone's rights or was thought to violate someone's rights, you couldn't really go to the courts. The courts didn't have the authority to legally enforce human rights standards. All you could do was petition the government or go to the House of Commons and try to actually get the law repealed, which they could do. But there were a number of cases that we'll get into, and the textbook goes into detail on many of them. There are many instances of human rights being ignored or really not properly protected by legislatures and provincial and federal governments. And if that happened, there's not really much you could do about it. So that's one of the reasons for the development of the Charter of Rights and Freedoms that reading for this week, for the first week, gets into. So this period before 1982 was sometimes called supremacy of Parliament or parliamentary supremacy. After 1982, now that the courts have the ability to enforce human rights standards, observers have started to use the phrase judicial supremacy, or maybe the supremacy of the courts, or something like that. So those types of terms are used quite a bit. As we'll see, however, it's not quite as simple as saying, first Parliament was supreme, and now the courts are supreme. There's still a bit of dialogue and back and forth because of a number of important sections of the Charter, and we'll of course get into this. But for now, it's helpful to think about pre-1982 period as supremacy of Parliament, and post-1982 as supremacy of the courts, or judicial supremacy. I'll make one final point about the timeliness of this course, why I think it's important to think about these topics right now. We live in, to use a phrase we've heard a lot in the last couple of years, unprecedented times, particularly when it comes to government restrictions on individual liberties. Now, this may not necessarily be a bad thing. There may be very good reasons why large gatherings are restricted in the middle of a pandemic, for example, right? But in the midst of public health orders, vaccine requirements, and a number of other laws that have not typically been common in, at least in Canada, there have been a number of complaints about these based on the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, or more specifically, a number of people have argued that many of these public health orders violate the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. So consider, for example, Section 2 of the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, which grants Canadians the right to peaceful assembly. Some have claimed that rules prohibiting, for example, private gatherings, concerts, religious services, so some have claimed that rules prohibiting these gatherings violate the section of the Charter and are thus unconstitutional. If that's true, that's a pretty important point, right? Is that true? Well, we'll see. But my point here is that this isn't simply an academic exercise thinking about the Charter. Thinking about the Charter, its role in Canadian political life, how it applies, how it does not apply, helps us to understand probably the most important political event and set of events in our lifetime, at least to this point. So I think it's very important to understand our political moment to make sense of the Charter and its role in Canadian political life. So I'll leave it there for now with, again, another reminder to read the syllabus carefully, keep up with the reading videos and work for each week. That will be important to your success in this course. There is a short lecture video for you to watch this week which you can find under the Week 1 section of the Moodle page below. This video, the lecture video for this week, was originally made for my Intro to Canadian Government class, so some of you may have seen it already if you've taken that class from me before. But it explains and goes into a little bit more detail into the difference between parliamentary and judicial supremacy, which is one of the main topics of the textbook reading for this week. So I think it's important to watch that again if you've seen it already, and especially it's important to watch it for the first time if you have not. So again, each week, what you need to do is watch the lecture video, do all the readings, and then do the short weekly reflection. And then, of course, there are big assignments that will come up. But if you do those 3 things every week, I think you'll be in a very good position to succeed in this course. And again, please let me know if you have any questions. I'm happy to meet with you virtually, happy to email. I guess the final thing that I'll say is, because we're not meeting in person, I don't know if you are struggling or if you have questions in the course unless you let me know. So there's no shame in letting me know if you have questions or would like extra help. I'm happy to do that. It's my job to spend time with you on that if you need, but you have to let me know. So please do that. Don't feel bad about that. And I hope you enjoy this course.